Welcome to the Nightmare EC Kephess tanking guide. I will be occasionally pausing the video to explain fight mechanics. The fight begins with 3 droids, left, right, and middle. My group has the DPS focus the middle droid, while the tanks are in charge of interrupting the left and right droids. If you are tanking on a PT or Jug, you can interrupt every one of the droids' casts. To do this, you need to alternate interrupting the cast with your leap and your actual interrupt. You do not need to spec into any interrupt cooldown reduction when using this method. As you can see, when it comes time to use my leap as an interrupt, I stop attacking for a couple GCDs and wait for the cast. This is to ensure that I am not between GCDs when I need to use my leap. Your leap will come off cooldown a couple seconds before you need it, making the timing easy. Unfortunately, Sins cannot use their leap as an interrupt and instead should coordinate interrupts with the healer. When on a Sin, you can get every other interrupt, so tell your healers when it is their turn. It is best to have a set rotation when doing this. Once all the droids are dead, a bomber will come out. My co-tank and I pull the bomber to the rest of the group, which stays near the walker. I have seen other groups leap to the bomber instead. Both methods work fine, just make sure to let your group know which you plan on doing. The DPS check on the bomber is tight, so you don't want to have DPS leaping to the bomber only to have it pulled away from them. Whoever kills the bomber will get the bomb and needs to stand under the walker. As a Jug, you can intercede to the bomb carrier to reduce their damage taken from being under the walker. PTs can translocate with the bomb carrier, but if you do this, you'll end up under the walker, so be careful. Once the walker blows up, you will have a small window to DPS the walker down. For the next phase, I will be tanking the warriors, so I like leaving the walker early to get into position. I am picking up the left warrior while the 2 DPS pick up the right warrior. Since I am guarded and not using any AoE abilities, the trench cutters will ignore me and run to the other tank who is standing behind the walker. Once all the trench cutters leave the shield, I pick up both warriors and AoE them down. It is important not to stand where the walker is shooting during this phase, as you will already be taking damage. Kill the warriors quickly so that you can get into position before the next mob spawns. While I am tanking the warriors, I do slowly move them to the next spawn site to help cut down on the distance I need to travel. Once the Trandoshans are all dead, another bomber will spawn. Again, quickly DPS it down and blow up the walker. For this next phase, 2 droids will spawn. One person will need to stand out and eat rail shot. This attack does hurt, so make sure your healers focus whoever is eating it. The person who is standing out should give the group a countdown for when the circles are about to change. My group uses a 4 seconds, 2 seconds, move call out. I like to have the PT stand out as they can still DPS from a ranged position. Once both droids are dead, Kephess will spawn. One tank needs to pick him up and keep him facing away from the group. Kephess does do cleave damage. It is very common for tanks to try to stack with the group and aren't careful with their positioning. This results in Kephess cleaving the raid and killing its members. Kephess will jump into the air and leave a red circle on the ground. He will land in the circle, pull whoever is closest to him, and then give this person a dot. This dot hurts and will require cooldowns as well as healers to focus on whoever has it. If you are trying to receive the dot, it is important not to stand in the circle or right on the edge. When Kephess lands, he will do enough damage so that if you receive the dot, you will be one-shot. The area of effect from Kephess landing is actually bigger than the circle, so do not stand right next to it. Unfortunately, Kephess will sometimes pull a raid member who was close to the circle during the cast, so it is important to get to the circle as soon as possible. If you are off tanking, you should help kill the bombers. Kephess will put up an invincibility bubble if he is pushed too far while the walker is still up. If you are main tanking Kephess and receive the dot, you need to tank swap. DPS can also pop power for cooldowns and take the dot. Once the walker is dead, Kephess will phase at 59%. At this point, he will pull the raid in and create a giant circle around himself, which deals damage if you are inside of it. If 2 people die after Kephess reaches 59%, he will become invincible and wipe the raid. Now we begin the final phase. Kephess will give one tank a debuff, which causes the tank to drop purple circles. A tank swap needs to occur during the cast Breath of the Masters so that the debuff tank does not die. The debuff tank will drop 5 circles in total. Kephess will pull this tank after the second circle, so if you are on a PT, you should use hydraulics to avoid it. However, it is easy enough to run away from the group after the pull. It is important to be within 30 meters of Kephess when you drop your final circle so that you can taunt Kephess off the other tank. Again, this swap needs to happen during the cast. Make sure you position Kephess so that he is not cleaving the group, but also so that your back is not to any purple circles. Kephess does do a knockback before the tank swap, and if you are knocked into a circle, you will die.
Feel free to move Kephess around the room immediately after the tank swap to get him in an optimal position. However, do not move him too much after that, otherwise your DPS will complain. And with that, Kephess is dead for the Empire.